You're fine, Abby. Don't worry about
Abby,
it.
you're talking to a hostile audience here.
Okay,
I'm
wait.
talking to a hostile
wait.
audience.
Oh,
Here we
yeah.
go.
Go ahead, Abby.
5,
Okay.
4, 3, 2, 1, action.
Okay. Everyone has experienced the dreaded gym class. Seeing how fast you can run a mile among some of your faster or slower peers, seeing how many pull-ups you can do before your arms die out, even playing a simple game of dodgeball, which some students mistake for the Olympics. For some students, this is really difficult. Participating in gym among some of these, more hostile students is probably one of the most difficult things they've done. So why does this influence their grade? Why does their participation in this class with these Olympic-minded students influence their grade? Gym grades should not be included in the GPA because gym is purely a physical activity, not an academic. Gym shouldn't be something that is included in the GPA because it's something that is physical, and people shouldn't be graded on what they're physical for. So to kind of prove my point more, I'm going to be looking at the importance of gym, some things that colleges actually look at, and what some experts and students have said to me in the classroom. So don't get me wrong, gym is extremely important. It has a lot of benefits like health. It reduces the risk of heart disease, it can increase your lifespan, and it decreases the likelihood for obesity. Even in the classroom, what does it do? It increases your blood flow and oxygen, which helps with your memory and learning, which can be really beneficial for your grades. Even me, in gym, I try hard. I'm not one of those kids that stands off to the side. So why am I such an advocate? Why am I such an advocate for getting it out of the GPA? Gym does have a lot of pros, but does it really benefit you in the future? So being a senior and applying to a lot of colleges, I have learned that colleges, when they're looking at you, they completely recalculate your GPA. For me, they take out all my band and choir, they take out gym classes, they take out health, they've taken out everything except for the 4 basic math, science, social studies, language. So if colleges recalculate gym out of your GPA, why is it still in it in high school? I'm not saying to get rid of gym class, but I'm just saying to keep gym like a required class, just get it out of the GPA. That's all I'm saying. So if gym isn't calculated in college, why is it necessary to calculate it in high school? So here are a few situations that might open your eyes a little more. So let's say that there's a super duper smart kid. He's getting all A's and everything, but in gym, he's a little bit lacking. This one little thing is going to bring down his high school GPA. But as soon as colleges go to look at him, they're going to say, oh, he's like proficient in everything except for gym. That's fine. Then you have kids that maybe aren't as smart in everything else, and they're really good at gym. So you have gym that brings their grades up. These colleges are going to say, oh, he's got, 3.2 GPA. That's pretty good. But then when they take gym out of the GPA, they're going to see that he's not as proficient. They're going to be less likely to accept him. So not all these kids are equal when it comes to gym either. So that's why with things like obesity and genetics, and even just simply kids' level of competitiveness, gym is not something that should be included in the GPA. And in my opinion, if gym was out of the GPA, gym would be more of a stress-free environment, and there'd be less pressure on kids to participate. So what we've been waiting for, here are some of the things I've found out. So I took a survey of 22 kids in my study hall and kind of around the school, and I found that 9.1% didn't care, which was 2 out of the 22. 12 out of the 22 said yes, that they did want it in the GPA, and 36.4 said no, so 8 students. However, 12 of the 22, none of them told me why they said yes. They just said, yeah, I want it in the GPA, but they didn't give me a reason. 5 of the 8 that said no gave me a reason to why it shouldn't be in the GPA. So I was pretty happy with the survey results, but you guys might not be. Then I asked some experts, I asked Kingsbury and Tandy a few questions, and I should have researched the question before I asked them, but I asked them why it's included in the GPA, and they just kind of looked at me and were like, well, it's the law. I should have looked that up, but yeah, it is the law. What are some of the benefits of having it in the GPA? And they told me that there was a study out that showed more kids do better with it in the GPA than without it in the GPA. And since majority rules, they leave it in there. And also, it's motivation. If kids see that one little class is holding their GPA back, that getting their grade up in one class will motivate them to do better. And also, if kids don't know that they don't receive a grade for it, then they're less likely to participate, which is true because those of you in Mrs. Lash's class, she takes out homework and doesn't make it required, so like nobody does it, which is not good. It's also really good for your health, like I mentioned earlier, and they even said it could be a character builder, which I understand, but is it necessary to keep it in the GPA still if it just builds character? Yeah. And so basically none of the people that I asked found any flaws in keeping it in the GPA, so to kind of reassure myself, I did some research, and other people saw the flaws that kids are unequal, like I've said, with obesity and such, and not all schools evaluate kids on the same things. Like a lot of kids are evaluated more on their ability to do it than their participation. Another flaw, kids with lower grades have lower self-esteem in that class, and that's true for all classes, not just gym. And I asked them if it was possible to get GPA or gym out of the GPA, and they said it was basically impossible as long as they kept a good curriculum and evaluation of gym, which that's understandable, and I think Finch and Schulzberg does do a really good job. But what if they were to stop having a good curriculum and evaluation of gym? Then gym would get out of the GPA, and gym classes would die because less kids would take them, and then Ms. K and Coach Johnson would lose their job. And another thing that they said was gym would feel inferior to academic classes, which in my opinion, physical ability is inferior to academics, but that's just my opinion. And something that Tandy said to me that was kind of stupid was, well, if a math student isn't doing well in math, they're not just going to take their math grade out. And I'm like, yeah, well, you kind of need math your whole life. You don't need to be able to throw a ball your whole life. But that's just my opinion. So after looking at what is important about gym and what experts have said and some of the things that colleges actually look at, there's validity to both sides of the argument, but I stick strongly with my opinion. GPA is important and gym grades are important too, but they should not be intermixed. Gym is not something that's vital enough to be in your GPA. So next time you're in gym, just remember that your evaluation, whatever your GPA, is dependent on how you do in that class. But in the long run, it's going to be taken out eventually. So why does it matter if it's in there now?
Abby, you know I have to do this.
No, you don't.
You